as any other. Best of one. Here we go.
I wonder if fatigue, though, will be a factor.
So true.
That was a 70-plus minute game, and Alliance won pretty swiftly, so they didn't have very long to recuperate after that defeat to OMG, whereas LMQ has just been sitting here watching and smiling.
So, first ban out of the gate is Irelia taken away from Soaz. Although, last time these two teams met, of course, it was a Lulu pick for Soaz. Not exactly coming up big for him on that front. Syndra also taken away here from Peke. And of course, mid lane focus continues on Fnatic side as they get rid of both Yasuo and Zilean.
Like the analyst desk said, Ackerman on Rumble each time. He did have that loss to Blue, but he plays it exquisitely when he can get it. Their last ban to beat Kazakhs, focusing a bit more of the jungle, actually focusing the jungle, not a bit more. We've certainly jungle banned so far.
And so much focus in the player faces, even just in the ban phase right here. Kazakhs being taken away from Cyanide will push him a little bit away from his comfort zone, but his Elise has actually looked very strong in the last few games. And again, a first pick, Thresh. Moore has been fantastic.
He has two wins out of 2 for Thresh, statistically brilliant for him, and he's had some real big moments for LMQ, and he'll be looking for that to really continue. And if you look at Soaz there on the left, he was the question mark that the analyst desk had, that Crepo in particular had, you know, said it over and over. This guy is incredibly emotional. We saw him kind of a facepalm moment at the end.
Hands in head more than hands on keyboard.
Yeah, definitely, at the end of that last game, and he's a player that definitely can tilt in the worst of times. Fnatic, though, are going to take Rumble away, so Soaz is going to be on that champion once again. We're going to see Cyanide on Lee Sin, which for me is not one of Cyanide's strong points.
Yeah, I mean, you have his stats right there. He's not good win-loss-wise in the playoffs or regular season here. I'm curious, though, giving the Maokai to LMQ. Soaz has not been a good Maokai. We've seen that matchup actually go in both directions, Rumble versus Mao in the top lane. And yes, it worked out a little bit for Soaz in that last Rumble game, but he was really far behind the Rise. And they just end up going with it again. Not much of what Soaz has picked outside of the Irelia has worked.
A good grab for Ackerman for sure. 3 and 2 in that on the season with 5 plays. Also gonna fit right in the style of the LMQ fighting. They'll be able to help out right away with these fights, teleporting in. Reckless on your screen. What will it be his carry this game? Looking at Lucian to lock in here. Looking to go up against Vasily's Tristana. He's played right across the board, Cog, Twitch, and Triss. So if it wasn't the Triss, it would have been something else. Vasily feels comfortable this tournament.
And Reckless wants to be able to beat him early. He had the unfortunate experience of playing Kog'Maw with a team that could not peel very well for him last game and suffered when they got dove on hard. This time he's picking a mobile AD carry with a support who can peel very well, so I wonder if they're overcompensating for that fact. However, Lucian plus Janna is a very potent lane combo, specifically for pushing turrets, which is something Fnatic did amazingly well last game.
And this is going to be the debut performance of Yellow Star's Janna as well. Not played it up until now at Worlds or during the LCS summer split and playoff. So we'll see how he handles this one. What are LMQ going to be finishing off with here? No name on Jarvan. Definite possibility. Has played 1 game with that already. Actually had a pretty ridiculous game as well. Went 2-16 with that Jarvan pick. So really getting involved for LMQ's kills. And what will we see coming out of Xiao? Always pretty much impossible to predict what he's going to bust out.
I mean, he picked the Fizz yesterday against Samsung Blue, and they are just doubling down on this initiation despite being picked into a Janna. So I really want to see what the mid lane pick is here for Fnatic.
It's not going to be Leona.
Without that Syndra in the mid lane and a Rumble on the top, it's pretty much the same composition. LMQ brought to OMG. The Syndra actually, or Lissandra, I should say, getting locked in for Peke on the other side. Gonna be seeing that coming into play. Definitely have to get some stats on that for him. Peke obviously having a large champion pool throughout the season, but a little shaky throughout that champion pool. So he was definitely trying to find some ground and which one would really work for the team.
And you have to go back pretty far, I think, for the last time that Peke played Syndra. If I was to hazard a guess, because I don't have the stats right in front of me, which slightly annoys me, but I'd say Spring Split last year when we were seeing the likes of Alternate then running those big Lissandra initiation comps.
It was forever ago, and also at Worlds last year we saw Soaz doing it. However, it's one of these Korean solo queue practiced in between the break between the playoffs and Worlds. Much like Shook played a lot of Rammus in there, Peke played a fair bit of Lissandra. It wasn't his most played, but it was very highly played. And it's kind of the pocket pick, which you have to break out with your back against the wall.
You've got to be perfect with it, though. I mean, you can't bring a champion to, especially a game this important, and just be halfway comfortable with that one. Got to hit the nail on the head with that, Lissandra.
Absolutely. It's going to be crazy. That definitely puts you into the fights. If you take the claw, you're going to have to make the right moves, whether it's yourself or locking somebody else down. There's so many options, and you have to make the right one because you are committed in those fights.
Well, before we head onto the Rift for Game 3 of the day, which team do you guys think will come out ahead? Tweet us at LOL eSports. I've said that so many times, I somehow forget it still. And use the hashtag LMQ win or FNC win to let us know on that one. Of course, Fnatic always seems to have big numbers when it comes to the fan votes. We'll see if that can pull them through. They have to win here against LMQ. Otherwise, they're out. And even if they do win, it still requires other teams to basically do business for them.
We say that for Fnatic, but LMQ kind of has to win as well, despite having that 2-0 start. They tripped up a little bit yesterday. No one really expected them to start 2-0. Their wins were all in close games. It is that super competitive group. OMG has stepped up after the 0-2 start to go 2-2. LMQ does not want to fall into a tie there with OMG.
Let's see if No Name can get a sweep on this ward. Peke may throw down in the brush. Death brush down towards Dragon. If so, he may be looking to get into the jungle a little bit early. Just keep themselves safe for now. No wards actually even going down just yet. Want to get that full amount of time they can if anybody's to sneak in just after the laning phase starts.
Early wards going down in those bottom brushes as well. The last thing you want is getting a bit of tricky play coming your way at level 1 and falling behind right from the very get-go. Similar thing across the map. Actually, a sweeper use here by No Name right at the start to clear out Fnatic's vision on that ramp. And there's Peke's first blast onto No Name.
You don't see many junglers start the game with a sweeper, but it kind of means that LMQ wants to make a pretty aggressive posture early on in the game, maybe to scare Fnatic away from scouting that lane swap. Despite Vasily and Moore being spectacular in the lane at keeping CS up on opponents, they know when they're into a matchup that isn't super favorable for them. They're swapping Vasily away, Reckless is bottom. It's going to be a full-on swap.
Keeping the AD carry safe is definitely a way that both of these teams like to play. We see Reckless quite often off by himself, so LMQ is now going to start moving themselves in as they have walked right over a ward. But good scouting capabilities from the flag here. Will they be able to get out safe, though? They're getting close
really aggressive.
quite hard.
It's on the side of the AD carry for LMQ, so if Vasily really wanted to come down, he could, but instead it's just going to be this 4v4 smite battle to see who can get the red.
Oh, who's going to be able to get it? Actually, the buff will reset there. Regen a little bit of life. There's the hook going in onto Cyanide. Can they lock him up, though? No, they can't. Not just yet. Fnatic pressing LMQ back here, trying to get them away, but LMQ have pulled that red buff out to the back of the pit.
And the teams are actually not even willing to send their solo laners. The mid laner is deserted. It's actually a 3-on-3, but it's still going to be a smite fight. Vasily and LMQ's team get the red.
Oh, Joe, you were saying Cyanide may have some trouble on Lee Sin, but without a red buff as well, it's going to make it even harder. That red buff going over to No Name. They're getting what they want out of this. Peke tries to end the fight. He gets level 2 out of the lane. Locks them up with the W crowd control, and it looks like they could go hard on this one. Xiaowei Xiao now coming from the mid lane. That's going to be a takedown going over to Yellowstar. First blood over to Xiaowei Xiao on Fizz. A much different game for him than previously.
They want to keep going, though. If they could barely get in range, Peke's flash is down. And guys, for a team that has trouble tilting sometimes after that emotional roller coaster of a loss to OMG, losing your red buff and then losing the ensuing fight for first blood could be devastating for their morale.
And for this mid lane, Xiaowei Xiao picking up first blood, getting him rolling early on. And now Fnatic say, well, yes, they're just going to steal our red buff. We're going to try and come back for this one.
Oh, man.
We actually see, though, that No Name is waiting inside of his own brush. He's going to come through, so he's going to challenge for this.
Fnatic is almost doubling down here. If they lose this red buff, they'll be impossibly far behind. This time LMQ was collapsing. Xiao is level 3.
Oh, Cyanide not looking good. So they waste more time trying to get things back, and they're only digging a deeper hole so far. The game far from over, but the beginning falling very much in favor of LMQ.
Just an absolutely crazy beginning to this one. No Name gets double red. He will triple buff start, controlling the jungle. Cyanide just now hitting level 2, and as is the curse of Rumble players, falling behind again early. So as level 1 with 3 CS, 4 minutes and 20 seconds into the game.
Ackerman's actually going to have support from Moore here, so that means that he should have a much easier time picking anything up in this lane. We'll see how that one all develops. After that first blood went over to Xiao in the mid lane, he's actually falling quite a while behind. Peke, of course, has the range to harass him there.
Jeez. Yeah, that's a massive CS advantage for Peke. Just considering the fact that he roamed first in that fight as well, and Xiao had time to clear the wave, it's because the early shove of Lissandra is incredibly strong. You can spam Q over and over, it will clear the wave quite well. Xiao could not jump into his area of control. And then Xiao also roamed down to prevent the second jungle invade by Fnatic. So that is the one small half victory they have, because the gold is still even in that mid lane, thanks to Xiao's first blood.
So can No Name turn up the heat with such an advantage? Nice crowd control by Peke to stop the Q from coming in. A little bit of that trident sting from Xiao. Fives in the mid lane. Mana much the same here, but it looks like Peke will definitely hit 6 first. Will be that roamer for the team if he can get out of lane. Whoa. 89 to 11% there, even with the early game start. It's shifting. People believe.
It's Fnatic fans believing so much in this one because the early game did not necessarily go their way. However, Rekkles has gotten a substantial amount of experience, and Janelution wrecks turrets, especially when they're against 2 level 2 people here. They have a 3-level advantage if you combine that lane right now.
With the harassment coming down, howling gales. Rekkles trying to poke down as well. Actually, Cyanide did visit that bottom lane, but after his disastrous start, getting 3 buffed by No Name, it's probably better that he gets off there and gets some farm rolling. However, No Name is on this bottom lane, so Fnatic need to be careful there. So as is trying to leech from the brush.
He at level 2 at 6 minutes into the game. You need to be hitting level 6 in a minute from now if you're a solo laner. That's what Peke actually is right now. It just goes to show you how terribly far behind Soaz is. Yet Fnatic is kind of putting all their eggs in the Rekkles basket right now, which I can't blame them for. They're letting Soaz fend for himself, but a level 2 Rumble doesn't really do much.
It's crazy. We always talk about Rumble being such a big thing for these objective fights, but the past few games, he hasn't even been laying down equalizers at the first 3 dragons of a game. Teams are making sure of that, and the Rumble pick seems to really be a curse at this point. Ackerman in the bottom lane taking a lot of damage, trying to bait in this fight. Oh, walking back and forth, trying to get onto the lantern, but he just can't do it. Rekkles able to pull himself in a kill there and gets exactly what he wants.
A kill in a 2v3. That was a really poor gank choice by No Name. Under-leveled Maokai, low-level Jarvan with a Thresh. Even if Rekkles wouldn't have flashed the knock-up, I still think they win that 2v3. Janna and Lucian pack such a punch right now. And LMQ made a mistake of trying to fight the strongest point of Fnatic when they have so many other weaknesses.
Can't necessarily hold this tower very well either there, with Jarvan taking the blast from Rekkles. He's calling, so obviously used just at the end of that last fight. There's Cyanide, said it before, disastrous start for him, but on the second spawn of his red buff, he will be picking up his first one of the game.
I actually feel like LMQ should be forced to respect Rekkles right now and do a lane swap, but a fight in mid.
Oh, he actually misses the Trickster on the way down. Peke's free to move around on this one. Chum the Waters comes out. Ooh. He ignites down. It's going to take a few more times. Already drinking on that consumable right now, and they push Xiao out of mid lane. Not going to help there, and Fnatic doing a great job at calculating their aggression and not trying to go too hard off of what they thought first blood was going to be big.
Yeah, real big props to Fnatic for not completely going overboard after losing that initial red buff and playing to their strengths. It's going to work for now, but it won't last forever. This is actually how Fnatic won their game against Blue in a sense. They tunneled and channeled all their farm into Peke and Reckless.
Whoa.
Not a bad choice when Reckless is this strong on Lucian. BF sword and 2 long swords this early. He's a scary dude.
Where's the culling from Reckless? There is the dash in. One more will do it. He finishes off in style with the culling. You do not want to get Reckless going. Oh, let Reckless get going. It's 2-0 now. BF sword, double long sword.
You don't want to let him get going, but it's a little too late for that.
Yeah.
Yes.
He shopped and he came right back off, being miles ahead of the game to just get another kill. Fnatic doing work here. Vasily needs to go meet up with that, but even he is behind in items.
Oh, Xiao starts to come out, and I'm not sure that hook would have gone in their favor, to be honest. And Xiao once again forced out of lane. This Lissandra pick coming up big so far for Peke. Yeah. He's got a huge CS lead. It's going to be about 30 by the time this wave is all finished off. Vasily has, in the meantime, come down to this bottom lane, so that means that Ackerman gets a bit of spare time on his own on the top side of the map. More trying his best to hold on to this tower, but I think it might be going.
And it's really just an awesome counter pick from Peke in the mid lane with Lissandra. Not something many people would have expected, but he is really punishing Xiao every time he jumps up on Playful Trickster and rooting him afterwards for an easy-to-land Q. And even in the all-ins, if Peke does get caught out off guard, he can just ult himself to avoid a lot of the damage here. So he really holds all the cards in this matchup, and you're seeing that with lane pressure and Xiao being so far behind in front.
Watching Peke right now, you were kind of like, whoa, the Lissandra pick, it's from way back, but it looks like he's riding a bike on this one. Easy peasy, remembers how to do everything. 31 CS up in the lane, and it doesn't look like he's going to give up that advantage anytime soon. Controls Xiao for now. The AD carries keeping themselves well up there in the CS version, but Reckless can still bring that damage to the lane right now.
Right, so LMQ swap back because they have to, which does some very good things for Fnatic. Not only does it put Reckless into an advantageous matchup because Lucian will beat Trist at this point of the game, it also saves Soaz's skin because he is now in a position where he can farm against a Maokai who is a little bit behind in experience since they were trying to babysit him with a support Thresh.
Reckless sat at 2-0, Brutalizer was finished off after those 2 long swords were picked up with his BF sword. Gonna come back into lane and maybe some trouble as we are gonna see Xiao diving towards Peke. Gets locked up, Cyanide there, follows through afterwards with the Q, and Peke gets the kill.
Xiao has not played against Lissandra of Peke's caliber, I do not think, because he is getting toyed with in that mid lane. Peke's Lissandra is destroying the Fizz turret after the kill.
Already 11 minutes in, they dropped the first one, the big turret as well, and you already see Fnatic trying to control the buffs. This is going to be a big fight. The teleport coming in from Soaz, Equalizer getting laid down very nicely. LMQ is able to get out of that danger, but there's still more to be had. No Name going to try to come over the wall. Ackerman now back into the fight, laying down the Vengeful Maelstrom to try and soak up damage. Peke gets hit up once. Ackerman now the focus of the fight. He's been behind a little bit. Now he gets taken down. Reckless trying to pick up that kill, and actually Ackerman lives on that one somehow.
Nobody on LMQ died there. I thought the Maokai was dead, but he actually flashed over the wall defensively to save himself from Reckless. And at that point, Fnatic didn't necessarily respect their cooldowns. Peke had burned almost everything on Xiao, and then LMQ was able to collapse to find just the right fight. I mean, obviously No Name lands everything. Flash has to be burned defensively, then Cyanide's trapped inside. Peke commits really hard at that point and loses all his mobility. Obviously, Equalizer from Soaz was actually pretty on point, but it's just such a scattered fight at this point. Reckless was late to the fight. I think that was the main decider. And what an aggressive move there by No Name to, instead of going over the wall towards his red buff, he goes for Peke and ends up getting them another kill. And a last-second flash by Ackerman.
Crazy little fight. Fnatic here though, come back, diverge themselves in towards that dragon area and will be picking up the first of the game. That puts them 2,000 gold in the lead here over LMQ. Meanwhile, Peke continues to just rack up the farm, causing Xiao to leave that lane again. Fnatic also getting in some good deep wards. Meanwhile, Ackerman between towers at this point, getting himself some farm because that turret is going solo. Will actually end up getting finished off here, which will be LMQ's first of the game.
So as to put any pressure here onto Ackerman, looks like it'll just be back and forth as he shows him this Flame Spitter. 3-3 on the board. Not too much of a gold lead in favor of Fnatic here, but it is enough for them to start getting some wards down defensively. They feel like LMQ is going to be trying to make some moves still, as they are a team to try and get themselves back in the game. It doesn't matter if they're down in gold or not, they'll try to make plays.
They definitely do not sit on deficits. When they lost to Samsung Blue, they lost really, really badly. And it's because as soon as they start falling behind, they'll just force fights again and again, hoping that something goes right. The last fight actually kind of went right for LMQ. At this point as well, they have a slight calm before the storm. Reckless is sitting on close to 2,000 gold. He's hoping to get enough for his Infinity Edge, I think, before going back to base, because as of now, he's actually getting out-itemized by Vasily, which is allowing Vasily a little bit of farming. It's much needed time for Trist before Reckless gets even larger.
Speaking of out-farm, Peke, all going in one direction this lane, 150 to 100 CS, a massive lead for Peke. See, it amounts to basically 1,000 gold between those two mid laners. They're currently sat on 1,500 gold. Vasily will be given that red buff, which is going to help him push out those lanes. Obviously, Reckless did shove it all the way up to get that farm so that he could pick up that Infinity Edge, which he just did on the back. And actually, they're going to close in on the towards Ackerman.
Kick up to the brush. They get a nice Sonic Wave, though, to keep the vision in the brush. Whoa, they're just going to burn this one down, turn Ackerman into ashes in the end. They are going to be able to take him down once again. That one going over to Cyanide, making plays on a Lee Sin that was hurt quite early in the early game.
I'm really surprised Cyanide secured that kill. They knew Ackerman's flash was down and the backup wasn't close. I guess they were afraid of a Thresh Lantern saving, but it would have been very nice to get that kill onto Soaz to boost him back in the game. That being said, though, he could finish his Leandries, and this blue invade is very real.
And it's going to be taken away. Peke will get that one. Shao with even less to work with. Does have a needlessly large rod now there, but Reckless is tearing through his outer top turret. That's going to go down before Vasily and No Name can get anywhere near it.
Doing a great job this game. Reckless definitely clearing his mind. The whole entire team clearing their mind. They seem to be playing very well together right now. No thoughts about that last loss. Reckless coming out big, 2-0-0. That's the Vasily 0-0 and 2. So facing up, Reckless is definitely going to be putting up some good damage with that Brutalizer on the backside.
Yeah.
So as now all by himself to the bottom lane to try and get back in this one. Just hitting 9. Doing well for himself as he also had a pretty rough early game.
And we talked so much about Saw's rough early game, but the rough early game exists for Ackerman as well. Still no Rod of Ages, 16.5 minutes into the game. But like we saw a pylon gank in the top lane, Saw's is in danger of the same thing happening to him here down bottom, except No Name actually feigned away when I thought he was going to go for it. Saw's did a nice job of hiding in the brush there to not let LMQ know of his presence, and therefore they didn't have time to set up the gank. Now they're coming, though. Yeah,
Fnatic going to start squeezing here a little bit. Yellowstar actually going to face check in. There is the hook landing, but where's the damage out of LMQ? Cyanide's going to come around. Monsoon was used by Yellowstar. Exhaust goes on to Ackerman. Can they keep him alive? No, they can't, but Reckless will reply with his third kill of the game. And Cyanide's not done. Here comes Peke. Where's the claw? He's not coming out.
Oh. They were afraid of diving because Xiao would be bearing down behind them. However, they do have quite an edge here. LMQ took a lot of damage from that entire engagement. Saw is actually going back to base. He does have teleport if he needs it. And Fnatic actually calls off the push.
That was quite a bit used just for Yellowstar in that engagement. Fnatic felt like they could keep going, realizing the cooldown of the fight's a little bit more than the windows of opportunity that they have. A teleport in from Ackerman on the Boots one. Brown bags on the feet, not moving too quick.
We talked about Soaz potentially going on tilt and playing poorly. What about Ackerman?
Yeah.
Because his Rumble game yesterday was 0-7-0, right? This is 2 games in a row where he's had a big struggle to get going. Yes, he's picked up 2 kills in this one, but he is under the same stress of all of the top laners who get trapped in these lane swaps, under-farmed, but still trying to make plays.
Oh, Ackerman once again in a bad spot, and chat, that tilt is a very real thing. We saw it against Team Solo Mid at the regionals.
I don't even know what he was doing there. I mean, the Lantern was down to try and get him out, but he ends up getting locked up. Then Acid Twisted advance onto Warman to try and escape. and it just means another kill goes over to Fnatic. Reckless 4-0-0. If there's ever a time that Reckless is going to carry you to victory, this is it.
Yeah.
Well, he needs to. Obviously, Fnatic still needs help in this group if they're able to close down LMQ. They have beaten Samsung Blue before. They would have to play them tomorrow and beat them. They'd have to go 2-0 against Samsung Blue in the group if they want to make it out of group stage. But that sometimes is the way Group of Death works. Let's take a look at this, though. So he was rooted, then he was stunned, and then he twisted advanced away. So you can't click the lantern while you're rooted or stunned. So it seemed like he should have clicked the lantern, but he didn't necessarily have the windows to, since it wasn't right on top of him, basically. Tricky little situation there, Ackerman. Now 5 deaths.
And one of the things we've seen over and over, just a story that keeps repeating itself, is people getting caught out because they're not moving the vision with the team or clearing vision with the team. Just keep getting picked out, and there's no way to move that up. Now, really being a pain in the butt to Ackerman. 2-5-1. Hopefully for the team, he can stop this tilted play. 20 minutes on the clock, and Fnatic is really starting to tighten down on their hold here. Looking at the bottom lane, because right now they don't have to worry about the Baron. They don't have to worry at all. Ackerman's forced it back without a teleport, so Fnatic gets some free time with this turret. 3v3.
And Fnatic here, I mean, Peke, if you look at him, Zhonya's can obviously use his ultimate on himself for that mini Zhonya's effect as well if needed. He's pretty hard to kill off.
Absolutely core on Lissandra, and we don't see so much Lissandra play, so we don't necessarily know too much about her late game scaling, but let me tell you, it's really, really good, especially with Zhonya's getting the potential for a double invulnerability, but more so the ability to claw into a fight, ult an enemy, and still Zhonya's yourself, and then get another cycle of damage out post Zhonya's. It is ridiculously hard to deal with the Fed Lissandra, which Peke has become.
Fnatic reading the plays that Moore wants to make. They pretty much have LMQ figured out right now. Trying to give each other a little bit of assistance, but it takes the whole team now. Fnatic dictating and in the driver's seat. The bottom turret very prepped to be taken down. It doesn't look like they're leaving until they get it, and they're just starting to go around the horn here. Turret goes down. Peke will not answer it and accept the claw as it goes the distance. Fnatic backing out now. Very comfortable in this game, but that's also what can get you in trouble. Can't get too comfortable. Gotta keep the pressure on.
And that's what they're doing so well here. And I mean, if you can close out a lead against Samsung Blue, then you should be able to do the same in theory on paper against LMQ as well. But we've seen stranger turnarounds. Well, let's be honest, we've seen strange things today. Game number 1 was definitely something that you want to be watching. If you didn't see that game, if you just joined it, just woken up or whatever,
go watch game 1.
Go back and watch game 1 later on in the day once these games are finished, because that was an absolute monster of a match. Fnatic, though, seem to be bouncing back well from that one. You can see the Infinity Edge Ghost Blade now done for Reckless. He's slightly unstoppable at this point. They're going to have to all in him.
And this is the point where Fnatic seems so comfortable. We keep talking about how Ackerman's getting caught out, but Fnatic, they catch people. That's what they do. This time, though, Xiao almost explodes Reckless, but he instantly flashed because he knew what danger he was under as soon as he saw that shark.
More and more of those from the behind plays trying to come out of LMQ. Very fast fingers by Reckless to flash out of that one. We'll see if they can keep it up. Fnatic, as we were saying, they seem to be at their peak when they're pushed to the end of their measuring stick. Now almost playing what would be the time of 3 games today, a 70-minute first game, and then coming into this. You usually see 35-minute games, so they are definitely being tested on the physical measure here as they come into this game versus LMQ. Doing a great job.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that we sometimes underestimate. You know, we talk about the emotional pressure after losing that kind of game, but concentrating for 70 minutes and, you know, how that game went physically drains these guys. Like, they've not got a lot of energy left after a match like that, and Fnatic picking themselves up here, have close to a 6,000 gold lead over LMQ. With themselves, you know, they've had a bit of a roller coaster ride. Brilliant start, but have slightly slipped away, and looking like they could be sat on 2-2 after this game.
I know. After starting 2-0, if you're LMQ, you're on top of the world. But remember, we kept saying it. It's the first day of groups. These groups are so competitive, things are going to change drastically. And they have. Fnatic beat Blue. LMQ at danger of falling to 2-2 after looking invincible, basically, after their 2 decisive wins on day 1. And there's still huge possibilities of tiebreakers in this Group C.
Fnatic pushing their wards up. The pink wards are moving with them now, except for that one. They may not be able to guard it too much. Nice safeguard right out of the Cataclysm. Trade for ults on both sides, however. Peke trying to get a little bit more harassed down. Vengeful Maelstrom now out for Ackerman as well. And Fnatic is just getting all these little bits out of LMQ, making their movements safer. 24 minutes on the clock. We do have a minute for Dragon. That side of the map is quite dark. See some teams getting some wards on that. So as it's a bit of a final push on that lane, but it doesn't feel too safe about it.
What have LMQ got up their sleeves? I mean, they're going to wait here. Markai obviously going to be getting beefier and beefier. Vasily at the point now where that Infinity Edge and Static shivering, so he's definitely hurting. We saw a couple of big crits in that mid lane, which will cause problems for Fnatic, but the problem is keeping him safe. Yes, he's got big range, as, you know, as we go later on into the game, but the fact is that Peke's got a, I don't want to say a risk-free dive into the team, but a relatively safe path in there.
Risk diminished for sure when you add to the fact that they can maybe lock somebody down on top of an equalizer. It's really ridiculous amounts of diving. And it's not like LMQ built the composition for protection. They have some decent protection with Thresh, but they're mainly looking to initiate against a team that is pretty far ahead. So they really do have to hope to get a catch right now against Fnatic and control vision. That's pretty much the only way they can come back.
Fnatic been using those pretty much as tells where to put all of this AoE damage. Right now, actually, it's going to be on to Soaz. Does he throw down the equalizer? The team is there. He knows he doesn't need it just yet. Scrap shields and shields alike coming in from Yellowstar. Keeps him alive for now. There's the Claw going into the fight. What a twisted advance. He gets pulled all the way in. The equalizer shutting down the rest of LMQ from getting in. They do take down Yellowstar, but Ackerman has already fallen in the fight. Peke's to focus, goes for the double Zanya mode. Is they, oh my gosh, the triple kill coming in from Reckless. They just clean up the fight completely with a bit of shock and awe.
And it was so close to being death, but that's that double invulnerability. Yes, Reckless picked up the kills because he is so fed, but Peke created that opportunity, getting the cycles of his spells out in between his invulnerabilities, absolutely destroyed LMQ, and Fnatic has a huge lead.
And feel for Ackerman though, taking the twisted advantage just at the perfect time, or at the perfectly wrong time, I guess you should really call it, to follow Peke all the way in. Started off well for Xiao onto Soaz though.
Xiao was a monster in starting this fight, and then even forcing Cyanide to flash over the wall, which is why LMQ felt so confident. This was their chance to make it back in. Ackerman follows all the way, which actually wasn't the worst thing, but then they pile in a little bit on top of Equalizer. Ackerman was way ahead of his team, and honestly, Peke, you think he's gonna die here, but it's invulnerability into a whole bunch of burst damage, and Reckless finishes them all off.
And that leaves Reckless at 7-0-2. Went back home, said, yes, okay, a Last Whisper I think would fit nicely. Yeah, you know, an Vamp Scepter, and I think I'll have a Nail Thrown Cloak as well. So, good bit of item coming in there for Reckless just to make him even stronger. But I mean, that's the kind of thing that you expect out of LMQ, right? They're behind, they feel like that they've got a slight edge for that fight. They go all in, and it is really all or nothing.
Yeah, and Reckless could finish those items all before Xiao has a Lich Bane. So the chances of him pulling off those assassinations were just diminished greatly.
These games leave everything up in the air.
Oh, that's really bad news for Xiao. Going off to the side, the Howling Gale does connect. There's the kickback into Reckless, who says hello, dashes over the wall, dodges out away from Jobin's knockup. They're going to get both of these, and it's both of them that go to Reckless, and they're not done yet. More gets locked up. There's one for Cyanide.
And that's the way LMQ plays when they're behind. It leads to things like this. Fnatic just completely punishes LMQ's over-aggression there. Some unlucky dancing from Xiao, pulls him into the rest of the team, and Fnatic flanks, kills him, takes Baron.
As we were saying, we saw a little bit of this mostly from Ackerman in the playoffs versus Team Solo Mid. Dyrus was able to take a hold of that top lane, but it just seems like everybody is going for broke right now on LMQ, and it's only digging them a deeper hole here.
Yeah, Ackerman not having a good couple of games, to be honest. He himself seems to be having a few problems. 2-6-2 he is this time around with Maokai. I mean, compare Mr. James Bond, Soaz over the other side at 0-0-7 with, you know, 2 full items in there and a blasting one on top. Not really much that can be done between them. There's another tower going over for Fnatic. Leaves them 6-1 up in turrets and a whopping 14,000 gold lead.
And also, we were questioning what else is Soaz going to bring out. The claimed Lulu that he plays, actually, Xiao once again getting dangerous. Soaz going hard. He has this Rumble now. Definitely a pick that he can come out on. We saw him very low in the early game, but he's played it to get to this point and really assist the team throughout the entire thing. Whole team right now doing great.
I wonder if Fnatic is going to try and keep the pressure up or just let off the gas for a split second to go and buy items, because we see a 15,000 gold lead, but you count that gold from the inventories and they're sitting on about 8,000 of that. So it's actually very smart now for Fnatic to let off the gas briefly, finish those really important items. Obviously, QSS, Fura boost completed for Reckless. You get a needlessly large rod on Peke when he decides to go back. Just good stuff across the board.
And the danger I think that LMQ now have is, yes, they're going to try and sit on those inhibitor turrets and try and get involved. Xiao and Soaz going to go head to head. And there is the equalizer coming down. And Soaz says, you know what? I kind of fancy this one. He's going to get the Sonya in the last second. But there is a Flame Spitter to come out and get in the 1 versus 1 kill. That is how far ahead they are.
You don't mess with 007, that's for sure. He's now 1-0-7 and
got the promotion.
Some nice Flame Spitter time, good Zhonya's timing, and it just kind of goes to show, even though Fizz got the jump on him, Xiao is just completely under-itemed. He can't solo without his Lich Bane, and it showed there.
And we'll probably have Soaz approaching this soon as well. There's a ward right in the brush. His teleport's up. Fnatic feeling quite confident about hanging out in the base right now. They don't have too many sideways pushed up, so it looks like they're going to start working on that nicely. See, Baron has about just over 90 seconds left here for Fnatic, so they got some time to work with.
And I was going to make the point of, you know, when you're trying to defend those inhibitor turrets against Alessandro, who can just dive straight underneath, make that, and, you know, just get in there with the claw for the easy start to it. But they pushed down and they've already killed off that first inhibitor, so that will make it even more tricky. Reckless has stood on a ward, and that's a very useful sapling, actually, to come through just to make sure that that brush was empty before they tried to hunt down Reckless. Fnatic also pushing this bottom wave out and the top wave, so going to be pressure from both sides.
Right now, LMQ playing item catch-up, that's for sure. All the Zhonya's being finished, adding power, plus the utility of safety for Fnatic is just leaps and bounds above the fight capabilities of LMQ. We've seen LMQ try to force the fights, and it's not working in their favor.
And teams don't last long against a fed Lissandra in these turtling situations, which I think we'll see fairly clearly here. Soaz is working up the minions on that bottom side, which could prompt LMQ into a bit of a hasty dive. However, Soaz still has teleport. We've seen the counter initiation, the initiation prevention, all those things from Fnatic. It looks like LMQ is pretty much out of options.
Hawk not landing there onto Peke, and he just steps up along with Reckless, and they can chunk these towers down without any problem whatsoever. If any CC lands onto Reckless, he'll just QSS that straight off. And so, as I said before, taking a while to push this wave down, but he's knocking on that top inhibitor turret. And at some point, yeah, we see Ackerman actually moving over now towards that bottom side of the map. But a big calling onto Moore, almost taking him out in one swift move. Meanwhile, Soaz watching, taking down the top turret. Actually, Fnatic going to get engaged upon here. No Name dives in there. Look at that top tower. It's going down.
Fnatic playing this one well. Fancy relentless pursuit there to get out of Moore's hook. Kept Reckless completely safe. And like you said, Soaz just having his way with the top lane right now. It's going to have to call pressure off of this bottom turret for LMQ. Fnatic's loving it right now, and they are really looking to seal the deal. They don't want another 70-minute game whatsoever. Top inhibitor turret is going to be going down, going for broke. Xiao's in with Ackerman in the twisted advance. Reckless with the peel for himself with a bit of cyanide cripple on the end. Fnatic Peke will go down, but he's already delivered so much damage. The team's gonna come in. They got the janitorial duty to clean this one up. Ackerman's gonna be going down, not before he gets his own retribution kill over towards Soaz, and Fnatic to run amok in the base.
Whoa! Vasily actually has a few other things to say. He doesn't want this game to be over yet. Despite the nice fight from Fnatic, Vasily keeps it going.
Just about holding on to the base there. However, the minions are doing the work here. So that's one opening him on the bottom lane. Top lane in a similar position as well. Fnatic just going to back away here, get themselves an extra little boost of gold, which they are sat on quite a lot. But here's that fight once again.
Yeah, we can take a look here. Obviously, Soaz took his time getting down here, which is one of the reasons this fight took so long. Peke also goes really hard on Vasily, but gets knocked into the turret a little bit by Maokai and Thresh, which is why he couldn't keep his sustained damage up. Reckless peeled so far back thanks to Xiao. It was a really one-sided fight, obviously, for Fnatic, but because they couldn't quite finish off Vasily, he's able to at least prevent the Nexus turrets from falling.
4 of 4 Dragons, 1 of 1 Barons. Going over. Next Baron about to be up in 50 seconds. Probably going to be Fnatic's as well. Not necessarily need it with all the minions flying in, but it'll definitely be something they can put in their pocket to make it that much safer. Good items coming out. Peke, we see him finishing up his Rabadons now, able to put out a huge amount of power. Even going down in that fight, got out so much damage that it still went in their favor with the rest of the team.
Yeah. That's
Reckless,
how strong Reckless is.
He is terrifyingly fed right now. 13-0-4, very near to max items. Not even a Frozen Heart completed for Ackerman. Plus, you add to that the extra AD the Jada Shield adds to him.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, he's managed to just hop away, but the Q lands, and that is good night. Xiao Peke picking that one up, and 2 men down. Fnatic gonna stop pushing through, get those super minions moving back into the base.
So Fnatic pressuring one last time is what it looks like it's going to take. The inhibitor now going down as Reckless approaches from the top lane with the minion wave here on his backside, and they are looking for Nexus turrets. Yeah, Ackerman's up in 6, Xiao in 24, but they are making sure it's every last bit of the base turned to shambles here before they head towards the Nexus turrets. They're gonna have to wait on some minions actually. Took a little time to take out those inhibitors.
But what a bounce back performance from Fnatic. After looking at their faces after the OMG defeat, they have really come out this game and played extraordinarily. Despite losing that buff at level 1, they just controlled the lanes in so many ways. Reckless and Peke played out of their minds, and Soaz, despite being completely obliterated in the early game, has played really well for the rest of this game. So I think for Fnatic, the model they have to go with is it's not over yet, because they'll be 2-3 after this, and they've already beaten Samsung.
Uh-oh, Death Brush. Who's going to be the first target? Ackerman actually diving to the backside, but he's going to be going down quickly. Yellow Star actually focused by Vasily, trying to get the resets. There's the equalizer. They've got to walk back over it. Double kill for Reckless. Can he get any more here? He will get more. And now they're on towards No Name. Are they trying to give a pentakill over to Reckless? They are. There's the Quadra. Can he get himself the pentakill? Cyanide and Peke both closing in. There's the slow. Xiao goes over the wall. Reckless comes in and gets the pentakill.
What a fight there for Fnatic. Yes, they had the huge lead, but if you need a mental pick-me-up after a devastating defeat, it's that. 18 kills for Reckless? That's absolutely absurd without dying. That is how you pick yourself up off the ground, and Fnatic is going to take down LMQ.
From tears to cheers, Reckless comes up with a pentakill at 18:04. 37 minutes on the clock, not a 70-minute game this time. They put the nail in the coffin. They put the nail in LMQ. Fnatic comes up with the win.
Yeah, and after a performance like that, there is hope yet for Fnatic. We need to start talking about tiebreaker scenarios here for them. And for OMG, we need to start talking about whether or not it's cause for concern.
Right.
Because they're now 2-2 on the group and could very well be involved in one of those tiebreakers.
It's very difficult to look at this group and wonder what could have been, not just for Fnatic, for LMQ as well, starting off perfectly now, sat at 2-2. Samsung Blue, of course, at 2-1. OMG 2-2, Fnatic 2-3. So
Yep.
it's ridiculously close, and anything can still happen in theory.
OMG's been looking pretty good. So two things can happen. We can have a 4-way tie at 3-3. That could still happen. No one's at 4 losses yet, and no one's at 4 wins yet. You can also get a tie in the middle of the standings with Fnatic. This is just from Fnatic's point of view. The 2 tiebreakers that could work for them. If they tie with LMQ 3-3, Samsung Blue is 4-2, and OMG is 2-4, that's the second way they can get a tiebreaker. But I mean, they just have to sit and wait and prepare for the monsters of the group, Samsung Blue.
Absolutely ridiculous. I think you hit the nail on the head, Jat, when you said for Fnatic, the motto is it's not over yet. They got to keep rolling with that, but that kind of applies